radio in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. And I thank you, thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about the Benjamins, baby.
Yeah.
It's all about the Benjamins, baby.
Now, what y'all wanna do? Wanna be ballers, shot callers, brawlers, who be dipping in the bins with the spoilers, on the low from the Jake and the Taurus, trying to get my hands on some grants like Horace. Yeah, living the raw deal, 3-course meal, spaghetti, fettuccine and veal, but still, everything's real in the field, and what you can't have now, leave when you will, but don't knock me for trying to bury 7 zeros over in Rio de Janeiro. Ain't nobody's hero, but I wanna be heard on your hot 9-7 every day, that's my word. Swimming in women with their own condominiums, 5+5s who drive millenniums. It's all about the Benjamins. What? I get a 50-pound bag of oof for the mutts, 5 carats on my hands with the cuts, and something European chromed out with the clutch.
Drinking more liquor,
KBLA Talk 1580. Yes, we're talking Diddy. It's just, man, so much to unpack. And I'm so pleased to have with me someone that can answer the legal questions, because y'all know I can't. I can fake it till I make it, but this man is in private practice. He's at Douglas Hicks Law in L.A., named Trial Lawyer of the Year for 2006 by Consumer Attorneys Association. He is a former managing attorney at the law offices of Johnnie L. Cochran. Worked there for 11 years before starting his own practice. And, of course, he's part of the famous O.J. Simpson Dream Team defense crew. Attorney Carl Douglas, welcome.
My sister, welcome back home, and thank you for having me on your show.
Thanks for coming on. I saw you all over the news, every channel, I think, when this Diddy verdict came down. And after a long, drawn-out, salacious trial in the courtroom as well as on social media, the actual verdicts came down last week. This is a mixed bag, right?
It is indeed. It proves, if nothing else, that the government was guilty of overcharging Sean Combs. Clearly, this was not a RICO case, and the government's failure to do so was exploited by the defense and his great defense team. And I think the jury's verdict was ultimately fair.
You think it was fair?
It was. I understand why there may have been questions. I have doubts as to the legitimacy of the reason, but I understand it legally. And I understand that the question wasn't whether Sean was guilty or innocent. Indeed, the question was whether the prosecution had proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt. And in any long-term relationship, when there is this sort of abject violence that has been really self-evident, there always can be possibilities to create a doubt because the victim chooses to stay with the abuser.
Well, okay, so much to unpack here. I wondered about the RICO case myself because there was no co-conspirator as far as I know. I'm not gonna lie and say I sat there and hung on every word of this trial.
Nor did I, and that's an important fact for your listeners to appreciate whenever you hear these people commenting about what was going on or the verdict. Everyone who is inside the courtroom will filter the contents of what's going on through the prism of their own experience. Only those 12, or in this case 17 people who sat through every question and listened to every answer really have the ability to assess the believability of the 34 witnesses who testified. I know 30 years ago in the O.J. trial, we'd be kicking tail in the courtroom and have the analysts talk about Judge Ito denied a motion to suppress. And my job as one of the members of the team was to watch the spin at the end of the day and to hear the distortions, because the contents of what was going on was being filtered through the prism of the person that was speaking.
Always, yeah. You sound like me. I say we can be fair as reporters, but you're not going to be objective. You can only see the world through your own eyes. Correct. I can do my best to be fair, but you're not objective. You're subjective. You're a human being.
And regrettably, in this climate that we have now, people are taking one side or the other. So objectivity, regrettably, is becoming a lost art, even in journalism.
Well, and even fairness. So I assume that all these stations are calling you because they feel like they see a similarity between Diddy and O.J., which I found very interesting. First of all, there was no murder case here. Second of all, I don't know if you could call this a jury nullification, which is how a lot of people saw the O.J. case.
In the sense that we as Americans enjoy building our celebrities up, and then we enjoy as much watching them be torn apart, especially when sex or drugs are infused. That is a fascination that we Americans, black and white, always enjoy. That there was a well-known celebrity who happened to be African American certainly captured the attention of a large segment of the population. The titillation factor that was drawn out got clicks.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I kind of, okay, I have mixed feelings about this case, and we can get into that later, but I didn't think I thought it was kind of sleazy of the feds to bring out the baby oil and make that publicly known, because it's not against the law to have 5,000 bottles of baby oil.
It's similar to how in the O.J. trial, the first month of the trial was focused on domestic violence and O.J. and his relationship with his wife. And that wasn't the genesis of the case. But the prosecution took the same playbook of trying first to tear down the image of the defendant so that he would not be likable. And then that would allow them to bring in evidence that was perhaps weak. But because they think the jury is now against the individual for improper reasons, that was their plan. And I think that's the whole reason why they chose to charge the RICO, because RICO, you can do seemingly benign acts, and if it's done with a criminal purpose toward a criminal intent, it can be one of the predicate acts. Okay. So it allows them to bring in all kinds of nonsense that really the jury was able to stay focused and to look beyond.
But is that why this whole RICO and racketeering thing is gaining popularity? I mean, you see it, they're using it in Georgia with rappers there, and it seems like a stretch. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't know.
Laws evolve because people challenge the status quo. Initially, it was designed clearly for the Al Capone sort of criminal enterprise with the mafia. But as the evolution of laws, and laws are constantly growing and changing with the times. So some so-called smart prosecutors decided to use this concept and to broaden it. And if courts allow the broadening to occur, that is how it develops, and that is how the law continues to grow.
It becomes customary then.
And stay up with the times,
I
correct.
see, that makes sense. So why didn't they charge domestic violence? They have it on tape. I mean, that seems like that was the thing that was upsetting everybody. Why didn't they charge that?
Two reasons. One, it's not a federal crime.
Oh.
This case was powered by Cassie Ventura's lawsuit. That was the roadmap for the prosecution. Secondly, the domestic violence acts that were certainly the 2016 tape from Los Angeles was in Los Angeles, not in New York. There's a statute of limitations that would have excluded that crime for domestic violence. Domestic violence, while against the law, didn't have the same attraction, certainly not to the United States Attorney in New York, in Manhattan, as going after an icon a billionaire like Diddy. So for all of these reasons, although it's supposed to be limited to the facts, we all live in a society, in a time when you have to consider everything. And prosecutors are human beings. They are equipped with the same flaws of all of us, and sometimes their motives can be misguided, as in this circumstance, I suggest.
So if they would have just, you said they overcharged. If they would have charged what they were able to convict on, which were the lesser charges, would this have even been a case at that level?
I represented Diddy's head of security, good brother, Fahim Mohammed. I've known him since he was a member of Michael Jackson's security detail. He was in the room when Michael Jackson died, and he testified against Conrad Murray in that criminal case. I told him from day one, if you bring people from one state to another and pay them to have sex, that is a violation of the Mann Act, which goes back to the 1930s. Basically, when Jack Johnson was taking white women across state lines, folks didn't like that. So clearly, that was the low-hanging fruit. I've always thought there was an easy conviction on that because they have receipts. There is no dispute that people went across state lines. They said they paid for their time. That's ridiculous. They paid to have sex. So that was clearly the baseline. The other things were icings on the cake, hopefully intending to make an example of Diddy because of his proclivities and because of the success that he has been able to enjoy based on a foundation as sordid as it comes out to be.
Talking with Attorney Carl Douglas, if you have questions about the Diddy matter, I know I've got a lot of them. You can call me 800-920-1580. Call us. I'm also interested in what this means moving forward. What's he looking at in terms of time? What happens to his career next? It may seem silly to you, but it's a huge issue which impacts way more people than you're probably thinking about. All of that is next on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code ROYAL to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code ROYAL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code ROYAL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The doctor's office that accidentally mixed up your files has your social security number. The power company that mistakenly cut your service has your payment info. And the hotel that lost your reservation has your passport number. You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that can expose you to identity thieves. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
All right. Attorney Carl Douglas is here doing a little tapping on my Google search while we're thinking about the Diddy case, what happened with Sean Diddy Combs. So he was acquitted of the most serious charges: racketeering, conspiracy,
sex trafficking.
What was he convicted of?
Basically, it's called the Mann Act. Moving people across state lines and paying for sexual activity is a violation of the Mann Act.
So I had a conversation with somebody, and we were talking about this off the air, how this case has kind of divided people. There are a lot of black women supporting Diddy, but there are many that are angry. And I had one guy say to me the other day, so basically he just got convicted of being a trick.
Of paying for tricks.
Well, right. Of being a John, I guess.
Correct, being a John.
Yeah. Which usually the prostitutes are the ones that get in trouble. And why is this a federal case?
Because in the 1930s, Congress saw fit to create a law that forbid the transportation of people across state lines. And that has been bastardized, if you will, to Diddy, because, again, that was the low-hanging fruit when they had receipts, when they had people who the escort said, I'm from Florida, I flew to New York, Did he pay for my flight? He put me in a hotel, he gave me $2,000 when I left. He watched.
We don't know the race of the jury. We know their ages and kind of what they did, but that's weird. Why are we not getting that information? We usually do get that.
It is the first time in my memory that I can recall ever having such a high-profile trial and there being no available information on the race of the prospective jurors.
That's very
especially
odd.
After the trial is over. During the trial, that was always something that was difficult. And I heard because the court ordered that not be reported in terms of race.
That's interesting. Very bizarre. And then how much time could he be looking at?
In federal courts, the sentencing is based on a matrix. Down one axis is the characteristics of the defendant. Down another axis would be the severity of the offense. Where they come together is the range of months that would be in the appropriate range for the judge to impose. There are circumstances that could allow the range to be enhanced or that could allow the range to be decreased. In federal court, basically, the only way to get your range decreased is by pleading guilty and rolling over on another accused defendant.
Right. Which he's not going to do.
Correct.
That ain't going to happen.
Correct. So the range is, the defense says, anywhere from a low of 21 months to a high of 28 months. The prosecution is including different enhancements, that he abused a position of trust, that he had a power dynamic. And by their calculations, they say it's a range of 51 months to 58 months. I think, based on the fact that he was not given bond on appeal while the sentencing was pending, the judge is intending to keep him in jail a bit longer. I would say somewhere between 2 to 4 years would be a sentence the judge would impose, given that Diddy has no prior convictions and given that the judge cannot in federal court use the circumstances of the counts for which he was acquitted as part of the the consideration when imposing a sentence. So on many ways, the judge used the fact that the defense lawyers admitted he was violent as a way to keep him in custody pending the sentencing. The judge may still use that as a basis to impose a sentence higher than the 21-28 months range.
The president has already said he's considering pardoning Diddy. These are federal charges, so he could do so. And I don't see this president missing an opportunity for publicity and also something that he feels will bring him adoration from members of the black community.
Absolutely. And if, in fact, it was a particularly harsh sentence, 3, 4, even 5 years, I could certainly see him stepping in because this is a federal circumstance and he has unlimited discretion to do whatever he chooses to do. The fact that Diddy supported the president's opponent in the general election may be a reason for him to want him to twist in the wind a little more, to sweat a little more. But I would not be surprised, for the exact reasons you say, if he were to step in and pardon or grant a clemency of some kind.
I mean, he also knew Diddy. There's tons of pictures of Trump and Diddy together, pictures of Melania and Trump at what appear to be Diddy parties. So, and I've heard him on video saying what a great guy he is. So I imagine this probably will happen. Carl Tucker is asking me in the YouTube chat, what makes this a high-profile trial?
Because you have a celebrity and the allegations are cloaked in sexual activity. You're given an insight into how someone lives, the nature of his life. And all of us are always titillated with looking behind the curtain and seeing how people live. That's the reason you hear about the 1,000 bottles of baby oil. That's the reason you know about these facts, because we as Americans are fascinated by how a billionaire lives. We love to watch them grow up and then to watch as they are torn down repeatedly. This is something that we are fascinated by as Americans.
Now, the O.J. Simpson case, a lot of people watched it like a football game. Some people said, or a soap opera. Some said it was the first real reality show. Why did we not see this? Why was this one not televised?
Because federal courts do not have televised trials. Ever across the country. That is, federal courts, the judges are appointed for life. And no judge appointed for life would want to have a camera, particularly after the O.J. Simpson trial and all of the abuse and criticism that Judge Lance Ito sustained. You, in your own job, if you had somebody who's another journalist watching you, asking, well, she asked a bad question, there were time gaps that she missed, that would be something not inviting. Judges are very powerful kinds of people.
Right.
So no one wants to have people watching over them as they do their job every day, I don't think.
So we have to look at those horrible pictures that were clearly not drawn by black people. Let's go to Eric calling us from Carson. Hi, Eric.
Good morning, Dominique and Mr. Davis.
Douglas,
sorry. I have two quick statements and a question from Mr. Douglas. One, the most difficult thing that I dealt with in college, and even in my interview for the job that I have, is someone giving me instructions. Then I have to interpret those instructions, understand them, and then apply them. I don't know how we can expect 12 citizens to have such a complex job. And then I will say that in reference to pardoning Diddy, I am Team Diddy, but that's irrelevant. And I'm only Team Diddy because he represents me. I'm a black man. I'm not a billionaire, but I'm a black man. This could happen to me. So my thing is that if Trump does pardon Diddy, that's not going to go well with the black community because people are so divided in their thoughts about this. And the question that I have is, I am not an attorney, but I could be. And I say that what, Mr. Douglas, should be the focus that his attorneys have in reference to his sentencing hearing? What should they focus on to get this judge to give their client the least amount of time?
Okay, just a number of questions. We've got a minute and a half here till news, traffic, and sports. You want to do the last one first?
Well, sure. It will be the job of his lawyers to bring out, one, that this was, for all practical offenses, this was a victory. They were celebrating when they came down to talk to the staff. I heard the folks in jail were giving Diddy a standing ovation as he walked into the prison after this case. So they are going to say most first offenders who are convicted of basically prostitution are given house arrest, probation, or something close to that. And only because he is Sean Diddy Combs is there even the consideration of more than the current 11 months he's already been in prison. So that's going to be their main argument, I'm sure.
All right, we'll get to the rest of your questions and conversation, Eric, after news, traffic, and sports. Bill Blass in the chat says, I am not on Diddy's team. Pause. Morris Phillips says, Diddy is not a victim. Please. Carl Tucker says, oh, I already asked that. Love says, I decided to go to law school because of Carl Douglas.
Thank you, Love. I hope more will do the same.
Absolutely. News, traffic, and sports, then more. We're talking Diddy with attorney Carl Douglas on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Tammy Eswick with BIN News Now. The National UFO Reporting Center releasing a new report on sightings in New York. They say there's been 66 reports of unidentified flying objects so far this year, with 6 sightings in June alone.
That's believable because we can't be the only people out here, honestly.
But some New Yorkers are skeptical.
Seeing is believing, so I got to see it to believe it.
If I seen it, I would believe it.
What was it that Mulder from the X-Files used to say? I want to believe. But then again, he also said, trust no one. According to a new World Atlas analysis ranking the worst fast food in America, they say Wendy's was top of the list. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass talking about her confrontation with ICE on Monday. She says ICE and National Guard troops swarmed a park where kids were, rattling them. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Business owners can now keep in touch with up to 200 staff members at one time. Go to rapidradios.com now for up to 60% off and free shipping.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Something is going on with the Dodgers pitching staff. The Dodgers have been outscored 38-7 in their last 4 games. They lost their 4th straight Monday night, a 9-1 loss at Milwaukee. A bases-loaded walk in the bottom of the 9th inning gave the Angels a 6-5 win over Texas. The Angels are 21-20 at home. Ben Shelton, the only African-American in the men's quarterfinals at Wimbledon, will play Yannick Sinner of Italy on Wednesday. Sinner, ranked number 1 in the world, is 5-0 against Shelton. At 22, Shelton is the youngest player in the men's bracket to advance to the quarterfinals at Wimbledon since Andy Roddick in 2004. Roddick was 21. Tough break for the Indiana Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton. The Pacers found out Monday that Halliburton will miss all of next season. Halliburton tore his right Achilles tendon in the first quarter of Game 7 in the NBA Finals on June 22nd. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
JP Morgan Chase offers tips for the local business owners in 2025. Small business landscape is ever-changing, and the Los Angeles market is no exception. A startup or legacy business, revisiting your mission statement and recalibrating offerings can renew opportunities for growth and innovations. Programs like Chase for Business Coaching for Impact gives entrepreneurs access to expert guidance, helping you streamline operations, strategize your growth, and navigate complex challenges. Businesses with a clear sense of purpose can navigate any challenge effectively, but also build stronger customer loyalty. Visit chase.com/coaching for impact for more information. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
Hey man,
What's up, bro? What's that station you listening to? Oh, man, you don't know? That's Talk Radio. KBLA, 1580 AM. Check it out. 1580 KBLA AM. 1580 Talk Radio. Progressive.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're celebrating our 4th anniversary, and this track right here is the gift one of our devoted listeners presented to us.
Where you get some information, get a true education to know. Ooh, yeah. 1580.
How cool is that? Having a member of our KBLA delegation write us a song. Stop it! Our listeners love us, and there ain't nothing we can do about it. Wouldn't want to. Thanks to Cardell and everybody else for turning on KBLA Talk 1580. We love you right black.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Attorney Carl Douglas is in the studio. Attorney Carl Douglas still representing people all the time. Lots of more civil rights cases these days, right?
Sister, I learned a few years ago that retirement is a concept for employees.
Okay.
I love my boss. My boss does everything I want him to do.
Your boss, Attorney Carl Douglas.
Correct. So I am never going to retire as long as I can remember my American Express card number by heart. Things are cool.
That's the litmus test. Okay,
that's the litmus test, correct.
Good to know, good to know. So it's not easy to beat the feds, right? I mean, this is pretty rare. Don't the feds have like a 90-something% conviction rate, or is that a
My
myth?
sister, I was a federal public defender for my first 5 years as a lawyer here in Los Angeles. I tried 35 jury trials and lost every one of them. And I'm a pretty good lawyer. The feds don't bring BS. The FBI are all with law degrees or MBAs. They are smart. They are thorough. They can take years to investigate a crime and then make you go to trial in 90 days. So the odds are stacked whenever you are facing federal charges.
You think it was just the overcharging, or do you think it was also the team, the legal team that Diddy had?
He had very good lawyers representing him. I know a couple of them. They chose not to put on any evidence whatsoever. Typically, for a lawyer, you don't put on any evidence when the case against you is so overwhelming. No one in Diddy's company was able to come forward to say something that the lawyers thought might help him gain an acquittal. So they made a very difficult and strategic choice to focus solely on all of the prosecution's evidence and their failure to sustain their burden of proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But I'll tell you this, after they came back the day before and said they had a partial verdict on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, me, and I believe every single lawyer on the defense team thought it was going to be convictions on each of those charges, and they would be hung on count 1, which was clearly the more difficult RICO charge. Your last caller mentions the fact that we go to law school for 3 years learning these concepts like beyond a reasonable doubt or a preponderance of the evidence in civil courts. So it's difficult for us to try to convey and express and explain to a jury of non-lawyers these very complex concepts. America is the only country in the world where citizen juries decide the criminal fate of people. Every other country in the world has judges who decide whether someone is guilty or not of a crime. So that's just how we are unique in this country.
A couple questions in the chat, and then I want to address something else Eric from Carson said. Let's see. Fahima says whatever Diddy sentenced, the nearly 1 year in jail would be applied towards the time he will be sentenced to.
He will be given credit for the time he has served. He typically, in federal court, you serve 85% of the time that the judge imposes.
Morris Phillips says Maureen Comey is the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey. Is that relevant?
No, she was one of the lawyers of many. When I was dealing with my client, I was talking to 2 of the other lawyers who were part of the primarily female prosecution team.
Peter wants you to define reasonable doubt for future jurors if time allows.
Reasonable doubt is the most difficult concept legal minds have been able to create. It is as close to perfect without being perfect as perfect can be. So it is. And when you think about the concept of beyond a reasonable doubt, the key word is not reasonable. The key word is not doubt. The key word is beyond. The prosecution has to go beyond a reasonable doubt. That's how I explain it in my trials. And that's the way I try to reduce it so that a lay person can understand a very difficult legal concept.
Okay, so I said at the beginning that I have mixed feelings about that in this case, and there's reasons for that. I do believe that we should believe victims. We saw what happened to Cassie on that tape. It was terrible, but he wasn't on trial for domestic violence. I think that the behavior in the music business was terrible. I don't know if it's still like that. When I was around that scene, I saw terrible things. Diddy certainly would not be unusual. That, not saying that excuses criminal behavior. But what Eric said, and on the other hand, as a woman, I think, well, if he's abusing people, and I understand the differential in power, he's a billionaire, he's your boss, he is in the cat seat.
Yes.
On the other hand, you say you were kidnapped by somebody, but then you went back begging him for a job. There's a lot of stuff that seemed pretty shady, and I didn't follow all the stuff that's making people talk disparagingly about Cassie. But what Eric said is that he's Team Diddy because he's a black man, and that's where my mixed feelings come in, because I do feel like right now it seems like being a billionaire in America and being black, you're going to get targeted. And I know that makes me sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it seems like one after another, and I feel a way about that. Attorney Douglas, I do.
I have been a lawyer for 46 years. I say race, regrettably, plays an important part of every part of our culture in America, even our criminal justice system. So certainly the fact that he is an African-American man is a reason for me to want to make sure he gets justice. At the same time, the U.S. attorney in Manhattan who brought these charges is a black man, Damian Williams. certainly he could not and did not ignore or just excuse the implications that this prosecution had and the racial implications that were right below the surface. In this case, however, I say he was powered more by Diddy's arrogance. If Diddy had paid Cassie Ventura $20 million 2 days before he chose to pay $20 million, her lawsuit would never have become public. He first denied the allegation and then paid the next day. That created the template, the groundswell that created the roadmap for the entire prosecution, because Cassie made some stirring allegations and Diddy, paying her off the next day, said it was true. So clearly the prosecutors in his office, public opinion was against Diddy, and I can understand that being the genesis of the prosecution of this black man, who also happened to be a well-known entrepreneur.
An incredibly well-known entrepreneur. I mean, when you start reviewing his career, the number of people that he's put on that have gone on to be huge stars and millionaires, not billionaires, but millionaires, is incredible.
And when you understand that whole field and the hopes and dreams that he can impact, and how people have this burning desire for success, I understand better how people would remain in that circumstance, hoping to get that chance of a lifetime, despite all that Diddy means and entails.
I mean, people are calling Cassie all kinds of names, right? And I remember we went through this with Bill Cosby. We went through this with R. Kelly. Why did they wait to speak? Why they're just in it for the money? Their parents are pimping them. Their parents are selling them. And I understand that, but I also know that, I mean, she was like 18 or 19, Cassie was, when she started dating him. Who knows what she was? There's a power differential. There's a game differential in terms of running game on people. And so it's not, I don't know that it's the consent is as clear cut as people think, A. And B, I know as a victim of sexual assault myself that there are a lot of reasons not to talk about. I've never named the person that assaulted me, and you would know them. They're famous. But I don't want to go around the rest of my life being labeled as the girl who so-and-so attacked.
And many of us know women who are in abusive relationships and choose to remain in seemingly abusive relationships. And I never understood why, but it happens. I don't know, and I didn't follow the trial so closely to know the full extent of the 34 witnesses that were called by the prosecution. But I wonder if there were any psychologists or domestic violence experts, we had them in the Simpson trial, that would explain the dynamic, the power dynamic, and why yes doesn't always mean yes. And I want to do this doesn't always mean I want to do this literally, but I want to please you. That whole dynamic.
Right, or not, I want to please you, or I want to not get the crap knocked out of me today. I've interviewed many domestic violence experts over the years. I don't fully understand it, but I feel like it's one of those things, Attorney Carl Douglas, that you have to live it to understand it, because there's a whole that Stockholm syndrome thing.
Yes.
The survival, the fear, the manipulation, and I so that's why I say I have mixed feelings. When we come forward, I really want to get your thoughts about, is this a setback for the Me Too movement? Is the Me Too movement, dead? Is this a lack of accountability? There are women that are very enraged by this verdict who are saying black women's lives don't matter, or women's lives don't matter. I want to get your thoughts on that, just personally, but also from a legal standpoint. When we continue, will people be less likely to take on these kinds of cases? All that straight ahead. It's not too late for you to call or jump in the chat. 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least likely to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431, and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
It does continue, talking with attorney Carl Douglas. And we're talking about Diddy. Diddy recently was acquitted of the 3 major charges in his case and convicted on 2. And you've answered a lot of the things that were confusing me. Do you think this is a setback for the Me Too movement? We did see Weinstein, and you pointed out Epstein and a couple of others. I don't know if you put Bill Cosby in that bag. But it seems like lately there's been more setbacks and questioning. Certainly the public opinion appears to have shifted.
The public has a very short memory, regrettably. And this likens to me the ebb and flow of the public's outrage over police excessive force cases. Once there was Rodney King. And we all thought that would be a groundswell and change everything because we saw it on camera. And then the outrage slackened. Once there was George Floyd, and that was a groundswell, and it was live, and we all saw it. And they were protesting even in France. And then reforms, even in California, were wanting. Even here in California, they could not pass police reform bill in the wake of George Floyd and those protests. Similar with the Me Too movement. There'll be a rush, and now this is going to be a setback. I don't care what Gloria Allred says. I don't care what the activists say. Women are going to be less willing to come forward and to bare the very essence of their soul to complete strangers. Nobody did this for the money. Nobody did this for clicks. to bare their soul as they had to do and subject themselves to cross-examination is an abomination, I suggest. And more women will be reluctant to come forward, and more jurors will be questioning the authenticity and the credibility based on the Diddy trial, I fear.
I think it's a setback in that sense, too, because I think about Al Franken, right? He should still be in the Senate. And so that made me start going, okay, I want trust and verify. Believe the victim, but I need proof. You can't just say a thing. And so many black men in the history of this country have been accused of rape, mostly by white women. And so we have that in our DNA. And, of course, we're going to question it. The entertainment business is a little shady or a lot shady. But at the same time, you don't want people to have no accountability at all. That's why I say I have mixed feelings. I understand women who are outraged by this.
I do, too. And I'm surprised that women I know, very intelligent, are supportive of Diddy and thought Cassie could have said no and walked away and shouldn't have.
Why did she have to testify? I mean, she got her money, right? She got her money. Couldn't she walk away? She's got kids. These kids are going to grow up with this.
It wasn't her choice. She was subpoenaed by the government to testify. And when you're subpoenaed by the government, there are consequences for refusing.
Right.
If you're subpoenaed, there are consequences for testifying falsely under oath.
I.e. jail.
Correct. Contempt.
I mean, and the thing about it is what you pointed out before is that had Diddy paid her the day before and that case never dropped, none of this would happen.
None of this would ever have happened. It was his arrogance. He is so used to being in charge. He could deny it, and there would never be consequence. He got off on attempted murder beef years before with J-Lo. Okay, he fired that gun, they would say. The victim certainly said that. He got off of that. So it was the hubris of fame and fortune. And then his advisors told him the next day, the groundswell is too tough, bruh. You got to pay. And when he pays, even though you say there's no admission of guilt, everyone assumes the allegations are true.
Right. You're not just going to cough up millions. Well, so his advisors were a day late and 20 million short.
2 days late.
It's 2 days.
2 days late. It's all for over 2 days of arrogance. Because there had been conversations for weeks, if not months, before this. I'm sure Cassie's lawyer had sent a copy of the lawsuit. Okay, bruh, this is going to hit the papers if you don't pay me. And his arrogance said no.
So what's next for his career? I mean, what happens to Diddy? He'll never get his image back like it was.
He will always have the ability to hear talent and to be able to identify talent in a way that is socially relevant. He's still Diddy. He still has most of his money, and he has celebrated the results of this trial as a great victory. So I fear he is going to be heartened. He is going to be back in the music business. He is going to return to some level of influence, and he may even have a party or two in the weeks and months ahead. He's certainly going to have a celebration party when he is released from jail, whenever that time comes.
Yeah, and just as there are people angry, I know plenty of people celebrating.
Absolutely, there are.
His acquittal. So, what he won't get is the deals, right? He won't get. And some people say all of this is because he defied Diageo, the major liquor producer.
That may be another consequence, but I fear in time he is still going to be influential in American culture. He will return. I don't think we've seen the last of Diddy.
Fahima says it was Little Rob's case, not Cassie's. Be that as it may, the fact is there's a bunch of civil stuff still pending.
There are as few as 50 and as many as 70, I've heard, separate lawsuits. They all followed Cassie's lawsuit. None of these 70 filed before Cassie. I suspect Diddy's lawyers are going to file a notice of appeal because having all of the salaciousness come in really was not relevant to the charges that even you concede. And that will then buy him 2, 3, maybe 5 years while the case winds its way through the appellate system of the state of New York. While that's going on, he won't have to give a deposition. He still has his right against self-incrimination. He won't have to answer any sworn interrogatories or production under oath. He'll be shielded from that. Some of those lawsuits will drop off. Some of those lawsuits will be settled, but his day in court is not officially over yet.
Attorney Carl Douglas, that was very thorough and very informative. Thank you. You can find him at DouglasHicksLaw.com, DouglasHicksLaw.com.
My sister, it's always a pleasure being with you, and please invite me back.
Absolutely. Tavis Smiley's up next. Y'all know that. He's got a jam-packed show for you on a Tuesday, as usual. And I am happy to be back. Check in. I haven't finished posting now that I got my Wi-Fi. I got a bunch of pictures for you. Find me at DiPrima Radio, DiPrima, and then Radio Miles Low is at Miles Low Music. And we are everywhere at KBLA 1580. Like my mama, the great Diane DiPrima, used to say, history is now. And we are making it together. I'm Dominique DiPrima. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tammy Eswick with BIN News Now. The National UFO Reporting Center releasing a new report on sightings in New York. They say there's been 66 reports of unidentified flying objects so far this year, with 6 sightings in June alone.
That's believable because we can't be the only people out here, honestly.
But some New Yorkers are skeptical.
Seeing is believing, so I got to see it to believe it.
If I seen it, I would believe it.
What was it that Mulder from the X-Files used to say? I want to believe. But then again, he also said, trust no one. According to a new World Atlas analysis ranking the worst fast food in America, they say Wendy's was top of the list.
Staff members at one time. Go to rapidradios.com now for up to 60% off and free shipping.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Something